Thank you so much, everyone, again, for spending time with us and sharing your ideas with the Golden Ratio Project. As you know, the agenda for today is going to include a presentation of ideas related to how we can modify the India lesson plan, which was a really traditional, old-fashioned presentation of a lesson plan. So we will see both the comments and ideas coming from the experts in the Flip the Future group of tools, and also the ideas that were provided by our great participants. And then after this sharing, I believe we should give the floor to Svetla, who is going to continue with the Draw Your Mind group of tools, presenting her approach. And at the end, it will be our colleagues from Romania, Elsa and Alina, who will be sharing some further information and tools related to the Draw Your Mind group of tools. So without much ado, I am going to make Antonio co-host now so that he can share whatever he wants to share with us. I might ask you to please check your name in Zoom so that it's easy for us to identify as a group who is from which country or from which partner organization. Please, if possible, and if necessary, change your name accordingly in Zoom. And yeah, we can begin. Thank you so much once again. Antonio, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Zoni, and welcome to all the participants in this second synchronous session of our staff training. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants in the first training day because I received several feedbacks, ideas, and suggestions about how to modify a very traditional lesson plan about India according to the inputs that you received during the first day within the Flip the Future methodology. So both the two methodologies which were presented by me and Peter. I received, as I said, directly by you or by Zori and so on, several suggestion inputs, ideas. So thanks again for this great contribution. It was not easy because there were several suggestions and I did my best to summarize up within the same document all the inputs that I received. So my plan for the next 30 minutes or close to the next 30 minutes would be to show you the same lesson plan, the one that you started from, with divided into two parts, the traditional lesson plan and the adapted lesson plan through the Flip the Future methodology. And again, I did my best to insert within this document all the inputs that I received. Then I would like to share with you my personal suggestion about how a traditional lesson plan about India could be translated according to the Flip the Future methodology and specifically speaking according to the flipped classroom methodology. So in the end, there is no PowerPoint presentation. There will be just two Word documents, which again try to summarize up the results of your activity and the results of my activity. So I will start sharing the screen. First of all, I have to understand, because I'm working on two different screens, so I have to find the correct one. And now, can you please confirm that you are watching to a Word document?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
I will just move all of you. Sorry if I don't look directly at the camera, but I'm working on the other screen. So As I anticipated within this document, okay, we have the title, we have the school subject and so on. And on the left side, there is the traditional lesson plan. On the right side, there is the adapted lesson plan through the Flip the Future methodology. So I won't mention the left part because you are kind of familiar with that part. I will try to focus on the suggestions that I received about how to flip the lesson plan, the traditional lesson plan about India. So let's start from the learning objectives and outcomes. It was, I will read, it was almost impossible to standardize the learning objectives and the outcomes indicated in the materials provided by the participants in the staff training, because learning objectives and outcomes depend on how teachers intend to structure the lesson. But about learning objectives and outcomes, I totally agree with Elina Ferdinadova, because according to Elina, and I totally agree with her, there are too many objectives for just one lesson, in particular for a lesson based on the Flip the Future methodology. If you remember the presentation that I had it was Thursday, I mentioned the fact that in particular within the Flip methodology, but I guess this could be also adapted for the methodology which was presented by Victor, it is not suggested to have a macro thematic area, but it would be better to divide the area or the topic to be discussed in let's say chapters, or anyway in subtopics, and then to discuss those topics according to the methodologies we have been speaking about. So again, as within the learning objectives and outcomes, I received several suggestions by the teachers involved in this staff training. And obviously, the learning objectives and outcomes were more or less different each other, because they depend on how each teacher wants to calibrate his or her lesson. So all of them are okay, but again, the suggestion is to divide one topic in subtopics, and then to manage each subtopic according to the methodology within the Flip the Future methodology. About the language objectives, I'm speaking again about the right side of the documents. They will depend on how the lesson is structured, because no standard indication of language objectives would be possible, because again, I received several inputs about language objectives. I would say that they depend on how teachers want to define and deal with the topic to be discussed. I didn't modify anything about the background, but let's go to the most interesting parts of these documents. Because if you remember the presentation I had on Thursday, it would be important within the Flip the Future methodology to define 3 different steps: before class, in class, and after class. So here there is the first main difference between the traditional lesson plan and the modified lesson plan. Because, okay, before class, in a standard lesson plan, no specific activity is required. This does not mean that teachers do not have to work, but again, if they already know about India, if they already know which is the page students should go to and so on, they don't have to prepare specific activities. The workload of activities for the teachers is much higher within the Flip the Future methodology, because before class, there should be some activities to focus on. And an input from the Greek team, teacher creates a video ed puzzle or finds already made on videos with information about India, possibly accompanied by a word wall or learning apps to make sure learners come to the classroom with enough knowledge about India. Another input I received by the Romanian team is that teacher provides students with a series of links leading to informative texts about India. So on the basis of what I've been explaining last Thursday, it is important that as within the flipped methodology, the activity which was usually done within the classroom is done at home and vice versa. So it is important for the teacher to provide students with some materials about the topic to be discussed in the classroom. So for this reason, those are the suggestions I received by the Greek team and the Romanian team. Is there any question? Okay, so before class, those are more or less the activities which were mentioned in your contribution about how to adapt a traditional lesson plan through the Flip the Future methodology. Then let's go to what happens during the class. In a traditional lesson plan, there is the teacher. The teacher says, okay, guys, open the geography textbook at page 84. Today we will be speaking about India. And then there is the traditional lesson with the teacher providing information about the India from different perspectives. During the class, within the Flip the Future methodology, the situation is completely different because there are more activities which could be done on the basis of the previous activities which were done by the students at home. So during the class, students are asked to carry out one or more of the following activities. For example, students can be engaged in an internet research. For example, Todorka Pavlova suggested the following research to be done directly by the students on internet. Who and when discovered India? Why was India a colonial country? What problems does the population have related to nutrition and healthcare? So the first activity students could be engaged in is internet research. So on your own, do the following research on internet, which is doing homework in the classroom. A second possible activity which could engage all students is an activity of brainstorming. This was suggested by Patrizia Molignano. Geographic and geological unicity of India had an impact on its climate and its society. Which are the reasons? So again, here students are asked to carry out a practical activity to actively participate in a brainstorming, which is obviously managed and guided by the teacher, because teachers within this methodology are not just in charge of transmitting information. They are much more considered as mentors, as coach, and within this activity, for example, they have to guide students within the brainstorming activity. Let's go to the third activity in which students can be involved. Group works. So the Romanian team, I received two different documents from Romania. So Romanian team, one, teacher divides the class in groups and asks students to read the provided materials and to fill in an informative chart. The second input I received by the Romanian team is that, again, teacher divides the class in groups and groups are asked to carry out the following activities: research, creation, exchange of ideas, and presentation. Obviously, research is based on the information students were provided by the teacher during the pre-class activity. Then they have to create something which could be, for example, a PowerPoint presentation on some specific aspects of India subcontinent. And then they have to exchange ideas within the groups, and then one representative for each group to present the results of the practical activity the group was involved in. I will move to the input I received by the Greek team. Teacher draws a map on India, and each group speaks a bit about the aspect they already studied in the materials which were provided by the teacher during the pre-class activity. So group speaks about the aspects they already studied and tries to put what they learned into the map with the help of the teachers. Once again, I would like to focus the role of the teacher as facilitator, coach, and mentor, instead of just being the source of information to be given to the students. Then let's go to the input I received by the Portuguese team. Teacher suggests group investigation based on a driving question and provides students with some links in order to support the learning process. This is part of the pre-class activity, and it could also be done within the class during the in-class activity. Then students prepare their group work at home. Students share their investigation with other groups. Students present their final work to the class with the use of ICT tools. So again, students are provided by some links, readings, external materials about the topic to be discussed. They work in groups and they present the results of the group work. Let's move to the inputs I received by Elina Ferdinadova. Students are divided into groups. Each group has to focus on a specific part of the Indian subcontinent, finding out which are the countries in their sector and which are their capitals. One representative per group shares what the group discovered during the group work. So again, it is a group work activity. One representative summarizes up the results of the group work activity. Fourth activity. So until now, we have been speaking about internet research, brainstorming, group works, and now use of educational app. Margarita Farlinkova suggested that students use learning apps to search for information, to extract the most important pieces of information, and to include the main concepts in a crossword, a word game for finding words, or a game of matching terms and images. Another suggestion about using educational apps came by Georgina Pepieva. Teacher invites students to create their own ebook about India by using Book Creator. Students have complete freedom and can use information from encyclopedias. So the example which was given by Georgina is really, really interesting. I don't know if Georgina is there, but anyway, Georgina should be there. I think that I should stop sharing and move to the link that I just put on internet. Just give me 1 second to do that. And this is an example of which was provided by Georgina, a small booklet for India to help students, and we can have just a look to what has been done by Georgina. Thanks again for this interesting input. So as you can see, she has been working a lot. I don't think that she had already this material available. I think she has been working during the last days in order to have, you know, this brief booklet about India with geographical location, boundaries and size, nature, and then information about rivers with the Ganges and the Brahmaputra. So this was a great material which was prepared by Georgina. So India is a country of contrast, very rich and very, very poor people. Some interesting images and pictures from India. The biggest cities, Mumbai, New Delhi, Calcutta, and so on. So this is an activity students could be involved in during the activities to be done in class, with also some links to external sources. So I will go back to the presentation. So we were in the fourth activity suggested by teachers. So use of educational app with learning app and the possibility for students to produce their own ebook about the topic discussed in the classroom. The final one, the final activity which was suggested by you is maybe a kind of spoiler of activities that you will be asked to do in the next days within this staff training, because it makes a link between the Flip the Future methodology and the storytelling. Because one of the suggestions I received by the Portuguese team was about the teacher who tells a story about the Portuguese influence in India through the discoveries of the 15th century, and the reference was to Vasco da Gama. So another possibility within the activities to be done in the classroom is using the storytelling. What happens after the activities to be done in the classroom? So within the left side, so within a traditional lesson plan, there is the formative assessment by the teachers. Within this Flip the Future methodology, there are two possibilities. There is the peer assessment, and about this, the Romanian team suggested about students creating their own quizzes for the other groups to take using Quizits. And about teacher knowledge assessment, the suggestion I received by the Greek team is that teacher provides students with a quiz assignment to evaluate their acquired knowledge. Once again, Georgina Pepieva, teacher prints memo cards with images about India, so that through visualization, students consolidate what they have been learning. Elina Ferdinandova suggested some mini maps of India. Students have to mark what has been omitted on the map. And Romanian team, teacher engaged students in a test on the main characteristics of India. The test is prepared on Kahoot. So those were the suggestions I received by the teachers involved in this staff training. Once again, thanks for your interesting inputs. As I anticipated, I did my best to put all of them within the same document, trying to keep the 3 moments to be considered while using this kind of methodology, which is pre-class, in class, and after class. So all the suggestions have been put there. Now I would go to my personal suggestion about how the same lesson could be converted according to the Flip the Future methodology. So I will go to my personal suggestion. I will share again the screen. And this is my personal suggestion about how to modify a traditional lesson plan. So about learning objectives and outcomes, using also the suggestion I received about reducing the number of learning objectives and outcomes within these, I would say, adaptation of and modified lesson plan. On the basis of the knowledge I have about the flipped classroom, about the flipped methodology, I focus on this. So within my personal suggestion about this lesson plan, I just modified the aims of the lesson, because in my opinion, a good solution would be focus on the following aims for the lesson plan about India. Increase student skills in geography, recognize what is around us, and enjoy the pleasure of traveling physically and virtually. Geography is a lot more than being able to point out a country on a world map or knowing the capital city of every country in the world. But this is anyway a good starting point. Recent researchers underline a decrease of students' interest towards geography. But geography is about getting to know our world and its people better and understanding what makes society tick. Geography helps to trigger our curiosity, and as we become more curious, our awareness grows. It opens our eyes to different cultures and perspectives and helps us grow as well-rounded, empathic individuals. So let's focus on India. Taj Mahal in India is a geographical landmark, meaning a building or a place that is easily recognized, especially one that you can use to judge where you are. So let's focus on what should be done within the 3 moments that I already mentioned before class, during class, and after class. Before class, and this is again my personal suggestion about the lesson plan about India could be modified. Teacher invites students to go through videos on the subject matter. Example, and I found several of them on YouTube, and you can check as well. But example on how to deal with India from different perspectives. Students can be provided with links about India, but links about India from different perspectives: geography perspective, cultural perspective, and I mentioned Bollywood, and cultural perspective, and I mentioned Indian cuisine. During class, the first activity could be a game. So teacher invites students to play the Guess the Geographical Place quiz, which is available on YouTube. I will show you this link on YouTube because I think this could be interesting. And I think that you can use this tool in your geography lessons. So it is just a travel around the world during which students have to guess the geographical place on the basis of some images.
Antonio?
Yes?
I'm sorry, are we supposed to hear something from the video?
There is just a music.
Okay.
Okay.
And here we have our link to the subject we are discussing about. Yeah, you were just supposed to listen to some boring music, so I avoided you from listening this boring music. And so in my personal suggestion about how to deal with India from the flipped, on the basis of the flipped methodology, first of all, students could be involved in a game, and this was just a suggestion of a game to be done in the classroom. Then the practical activity. Teacher divides the class in 3 groups: geography, art, and kitchen, possibly on the basis of students' interest and choice. Each group is asked to start from one of the video provided by the teacher, the video which were already provided for the before class activity, deepening the research towards other documents and contributions in order to integrate the preliminary information. The preliminary information was the one provided with the videos in the before class activity. Students are asked to prepare a contribution on their own, which could be a PowerPoint presentation, a video, an ebook, and so on, summarizing the results of their research activity. Then one representative for each group will be asked to present to his or peers the results of the creation phase. This will allow an exchange of information between the 3 groups, because each group, in addition to the information which were on the information within the 3 videos provided during the before class activity, they have to extend and to increase their research guided by the teacher. So it's a kind of in-class activity. So each group has to go deeply in the topic of discussion, geography, kitchen, and arts, and then to look for some further information to be integrated in their final contribution. And then during the sharing phase, students will receive more information than those contained in the 3 preliminary videos. And then after class, peer assessment. So each group is asked to prepare a quiz on Quizits about the assigned part of the lesson. Each student will be then asked to fill in 2 different quizzes. So the one of the 2 groups each student was not member of. And then there is obviously the teacher knowledge assessment. Teacher engaged student in a test on 3 parts of the lesson. So this time students will be asked to reply to questions about art, geography, and kitchen. And for example, this test could be prepared on Kahoot. And this was my personal suggestion about how a traditional lesson plan could be modified according to the Flip the Future methodology. I was supposed to do my presentation in 30 minutes. I've been using 34 minutes, but I hope it was clear enough. If there is any question, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Antonio. Yeah, if there are any questions, you can either approach Antonio now or make a list of those, and we can answer all questions during the last synchronous sessions that we will be having. And now I suppose we can start with Svetla, if she is ready to take over.
I am.
Okay, I guess we still don't need a break. We can go on, and Svetla, you can decide.
Yes, we can decide. So maybe in around half an hour we can make a break. And now we're also going to have small groups work. So I guess we'll kind of get a bit the dynamics so that we don't get too tired of. But anyway, in about half an hour we can make a break, a short break. Okay. Okay. So then I'm going, my task for today is to present the visual tools again with my colleagues Elsa and Alina. So I'm going to start with, you know, those of you who have already taken part in my presentations know it's always also about doing. So so I hope you'll have the chance to draw as well and to interact with your colleagues. So be prepared. Hope you have some drawing tools aside. You only need some very simple tools, really, like a pen and paper, so nothing special. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Give me just a second. Okay. So I hope you can see. Okay. And just as a really very short interaction, I would like you to write in the chat, where do you exactly join from? Which place? Vasilis already said that he's still not in Bansko, but sorry, but maybe just to write shortly in the chat, where do you join from? I'm going just to have a, okay, from Iași, Romania, school, from Sofia, near Moldania, Greece, Sisimbra, Portugal, oh. So Sofia, so thank you, Iași, Romania. Thank you for sharing. It always, to me, it always gives a very nice feeling, seeing actually where we all join from and still holding this learning space together. So thank you for sharing. Oh, okay, just a second. And now, maybe just before we proceed, I thought that I should very briefly introduce myself. Some of you already we've met, with lots of you not. I'm Svetla Todorova, and I'm very happy to have the role as a GRT expert in this project on visual communication. My background has nothing to do with arts. I'm master in German studies. I've been working as an interpreter in German, Bulgarian, and also I have some experience with teaching German using the methods of the very interesting method of Suggestopedia. And I'm also a cooperative training consultant, which means I'm kind of a teacher for adults, let's say, working with teams, mostly in companies. And I'm really passionate about visual communication. So this is also my role in this project. And I thought we can start with as an inspiration, a quote I really love, and it says this, that to live a creative life, we must lose our fear of being wrong. So let's just have this ring behind as a background in our thoughts in this session today. Okay. So now I would like to ask you to. This is just for my information and just to have an idea what's about your background. So I'd like to invite you to share using the annotate tool here and write on the whiteboard what subject do you teach, and the tool, you can find the tool somewhere where it's written. Svetla Tudorova is sharing her screen. You should see a button, view options, and once you click on view options, you can see an option annotate. If you click on annotate, you can choose the T for text, and then you can write on the board. But please do not forget to press enter so that we also can see what you have written. So we already see English history. Please, if you have any issues with accessing this tool, let me know. View options, annotate. Okay, some of you write in chat as well, history, thank you. It might be if you're entering Zoom through the browser, maybe you don't have this option. So I see your comments in the chat as well. History, mathematics, okay, French, English and Romanian, foreign languages, inspiration, computer science and tech. Yeah. Okay. Portuguese language, French. Okay. Usually teach English, Greek language, mathematics with adults and children, primary school. Okay. Okay, geography, quite a big of palette. Okay. Thank you. Now I'm going to clear the drawings so that we can see English as well. Okay. So another question I would be very grateful if you can ask it for me. Okay, Greek. Okay. So another question would be, just need to, okay. Okay. Do you draw in your classroom? So please use again the annotate tool and mark somewhere. It might be, you don't need to write your name. You can just mark with a stamp or something. Again, with this option, view options, annotate, you can mark if you draw constantly or never or somewhere in between. Okay. Just for me to get an idea. Okay. Okay, so we see kind of all the spectrum from constantly to never. Okay, thank you for this. Thank you. Sometimes. Okay. And now what I would like to invite you to do is we're going to have you, I'm going to send you a link in the chat to a common mural board, and it looks like this. Just a second. I'm going to send here. Please open this link, and what you will see, I can also share my screen so you can see what exactly you're dealing with. So once you open the link, you will see something like this, and you can enter as a visitor. Please press the button here down, enter as a visitor, so you don't need to register. And once you're in the mural board, you'll see a picture with lots of different figures doing lots of different stuff. So please choose your person. Yeah, you can move around lots of things. This is our share bot. I didn't lock it, but my invitation for you is just to, you can hear, if you here on the right, you will see minus and plus, and here you can zoom in and zoom out. Okay, I think I'm going to, okay. So what I would like to invite you to do, please do not try to move the picture itself. I just forgot to lock it, but choose a person you like, kind of, or you feel like in this moment. And for instance, if I decide to choose, let's say, this person with here, one of these two persons, here to the left, you can see a sticky note, and you can choose one and put it next to the person with drag and drop. And then you can write your name. So please choose a person you kind of like, enjoy, you feel like, okay? And write your name next to this here, as I'm doing it here, okay? If you have any technical issues, please let me know. I will try meanwhile to lock the big picture so that they don't move around. But Miro is also a great tool for doing a shared work. So please, I'm just now going to move this picture for the last time. So please, okay. I'm going to lock it so that. Choose your person and add your name. Does anyone have technical issues with this?
Can you please show again where I can get the sticky notes from, because I couldn't find them?
Yes, up to the left, I can also share, but left upper corner left. Just a second. Here. Here.
Thank you.
When you click, there is a sticky note. Okay, and here you can choose. So we see Jose, we see Jose, Emil, we see. Okay. The others, do you have some technical issues with this? If it's difficult for you to write your name, you can also choose a person and remember which one you've chosen, okay? So do you all have chosen your person? Just give me a short yes in the chat, or a sign or whatever. Do you all have? Okay. Vasilis, bye. It was good seeing you. Okay, yes. Everyone has already chosen a person. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to assign you in breakout rooms for a very short period of time, 4 or 5 minutes, 3-4 minutes. And in the group itself, you'll be 3 to 4 people in the group. Please share with your colleague which person did you choose from this picture and why? Just really very briefly, like for a minute. Each one in the group will have around a minute, not more. Okay? Do you have any questions related to the task? Okay, so now I'm going to transfer you in the rooms. So please share with the others in the group which person did you choose and why, and just have a short conversation within the group. Okay, I'm opening the rooms now. Anytime you have any questions, you can come back. If not, we'll see in 4 or 5 minutes again. Okay, just a second. Okay. For some reason, I see, yeah, still lots of you here, but I guess you're going to move slowly into the rooms. I see a couple of you staying here in the room. Can you hear me? Manuela, for instance, can you hear me? Manuela? Or Christina? Camelia?
Yes, I'm back because I was alone in my room.
Okay, it is very, I think it's something with the technique happens and couple of you weren't transferred, but maybe I
was in break room number 8, but there was no
number
one
8 and you were alone. I'm not sure, maybe it's because of the internet connection, but quite a lot of you weren't able to join. So maybe those of you who want, can you please just share here for us in this group, which, for instance, Camelia, which person did you choose?
I hesitated between the 2 people there. One was sitting down under the tree and singing, and the other one bringing coffee. So I don't know exactly.
Well, thank
whom
you.
I really want to be. I mean,
Right now, okay,
Yeah,
both quite nice roles actually.
no,
Yes.
they are all nice, but
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Camelia.
I
Who
wanted
else?
also to be in the tree and having no worries and
Yeah.
be just, yeah.
Who else would like to share about? We have approximately 1 minute here before the others come back. So anyone who wants to share, please, you're welcome. Which person did you choose? Someone else? I'm not really sure if the others are here, but something really, it's funny that not all of you were transferred. Okay. So Camelia, maybe I share with you that I always, I like this person meditating on the tree. There's up there because I'm always trying to start. I'm actually trying to take this time for myself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Even
I think that I wanted to choose something that I really need to get out of real life and have time for myself, I think, yeah.
Yes, but yeah, sometimes even when it's 5 minutes a day, especially in the morning, I think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
also something that I'm not doing every day. So also something I would like to do every day. Okay, so the others are coming back, I hope, in 30 seconds. Okay. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Hi. Hello, Ari.
Hi. Some of you couldn't be transferred somehow into the breakout rooms, but we had a nice chat here in the bigger group as well. So hope time was enough. Was time enough? Could you share in the groups? Okay, okay. What I suggest, I'm going to show you now a couple of slides about what we're going to do till the end of this short session. And then we're going to have a break. So it will be kind of a teaser, what comes. And then I suggest that we have a break. And then once you come back, we start drawing, okay? So, okay, I'm sharing my screen now. So my idea for you is that by the end of this session, you'll have tried out different visual tools you can implement right away in your classrooms. Also, those of you who was on this spectrum on the left, never draw in their classrooms, but also those of you who consistently draw. So hope you'll get new ideas how to incorporate drawings into your teaching. You have also plenty of ideas about how you can use drawings in your classrooms in various different settings. Not only try a couple of tools, but also have lots of different ideas about how you can use drawings in your classroom. And you also have another opportunity to exchange with your colleagues. So I suggest that now we make a break. Zori, how much time should we have for a break?
I would suggest 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
It's okay.
If it's okay.
Everyone?
Okay, so see you in 10 minutes and then we start drawing. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Patricia. Good, so good to see you.
I miss this group.
Yes, seeing in live feels just so different. But yes. And I miss Portugal as well.
Olá, Patrícia, tudo bem?
Olá, Vitor. Como é que estás? A ver se organizam as horas para eu poder estar sempre. Já estava com saudades.
É verdade. Diz.
Diz-me uma coisa, o que é que achaste daquele plano de aula?
Está interessante, está muito interessante, mas não, agora não sou eu que vou avaliar. É da storytelling, é na storytelling que vamos falar nisso, vamos falar do teu plano no storytelling.
Ok.
Acho que é na sexta-feira, tenho a impressão. Não
Tá
estou
bem.
agora a ver o calendário, mas tu podes ver no calendário que eu te mandei.
Sim, sim, sim.
Acho que é na sexta, pelo menos começa na sexta-feira, acho eu.
Ok. Eu já descarreguei, mas não estive a ver.
Está bem, está bem. Mas podes entrar sempre pelo calendário, porque eles têm lá o link, então é sempre o mesmo link.
Sim, sim, sim.
Pronto, e entras no período entre o meio-dia e meia e as 3, entras à hora que puderes entrar, não há problema.
Pois é, quando eu tenho aulas,
Pois.
é o problema.
Exato. Pronto, quando puderes, pá, é assim mesmo. Sim, senhor. Vamos deixar a Svetla Let's talk, Svetla.
Sim, sim.
Okay, I'm not sure that everyone is back. Is everyone back? It's exactly 10 minutes since we started the break. So let's maybe wait another minute and then we start. So you all have something to draw. I'm going to draw here again. It's a bit improvised, but yes, I'm going to draw here on this whiteboard. And you can copy step by step. I'm going to draw it not too fast so that you have time. But let's see what happens. Yes, now we're going to do now a little warm up with drawing.
Sorry, Svetla, sorry.
Yes. Yes.
So what tool do you use? Do you use the whiteboard from the Zoom or?
For what you mean?
For what you are doing now?
Now, this is Canva. This is Canva.
Canva, okay.
Yes, this is Canva.
Okay, yes, thank you. Because, you know, there are different, you know, tools you can use. And I was simply wondering what
by the way,
tool you use.
Yeah, this is also because sometimes it's a bit, it can get a bit too hectic with some tools, but still I wanted to use a couple of different tools so that you get the feeling, and if you want, you can use them. Like this mural board, for instance, they have all free access. So this mural board we used a couple of minutes ago, it can be very useful for any kind of shared work with a team of students, so that everyone can participate simultaneously. This Canva tool, Alina is also going to present it. It's really very useful for creating any type of presentations or visual materials or flyers or whatever, even Facebook covers. So anything which is actually quite close to our students. It has lots of different pictures and elements to design. But the drawings I drew themselves. So and by the way, this is also what we're going to do now. The drawings I use in these presentations, we'll copy a couple of them so that you can see that it's actually very, very easy to draw. So it's nothing really special, but you can use them as a teaching material. Okay, so here I'm going to hold like this okay, just let me, so that I can see myself or what I'm doing. So I'm going to draw, as I told you, step by step, and you can copy it. Okay, so I suggest that I first start with drawing these persons which I used in the presentation. They're really, really nice. I like them a lot like this. It goes like, but let's first just draw. Please draw really basic shapes, like a couple of basic shapes, like a circle, a triangle, a rectangle. This is actually all we need to be able to do in order to use this type of drawings. Maybe a line, a dot, just as a small warm-up. Okay, a rectangle. So there is nothing more we actually need for this. Okay, and now let's draw these funny persons I use in this presentation. It goes like, we first start with a circle. Then we draw, for eyes, we draw two lines like this. We don't, sometimes it's more difficult with dots, and you can see the lines from a bigger distance. And then you do kind of a rectangle, but a bit something like this. Okay. And here, two lines for legs, starting line like this. And hands starting. It's important that the hands, the arms actually start here at this point. So not somewhere here. And this is actually, and now we can add some details like this. And this. And we actually we don't need nothing more to be able to draw this type of people. Then we can we can try to include them in situations, in different situations, like let's draw together a teaching situation, okay. For instance, we have here this person. This should be the teacher, and the legs starting here. An arm starting here, at exactly that point, maybe here. The other arm maybe like this. And then the eyes, we can, depending on where we place the eyes, we can have the person looking different directions. In this case, we have the person looking that direction. Here we have a board or something. We can also put here feet looking in the same direction, and here some students looking at the board, something like this. Okay, this is just an example for putting this person or this type of persons into action. Some of you have already drawn different type of people, like the scribble people. We can try to do the same. Those of you who never tried to draw the scribble people, it goes very simple like this. We draw a couple of scribbles, then a head, then legs, or we can move them around. Something like this. So it goes really easy, especially when we want to draw in front of the students. This is a very easy way of illustrating something happening where persons are involved. So again, we can draw the same situation of teaching or presenting using scribble persons like this. Here, the arm showing something, the other arm here, the board, and here, the students. Okay. Another example of, for instance, quite often when we teach, when we share some stories, we have the situation of the journey or the metaphor of the journey, the hero's journey or whatever. So quite often it might be very useful to be able to draw a person on the road or heading for the road. If we use the scribble person again, we can do something like this here, a backpack. Here, maybe some here holding. And then we have some, maybe some destination to go or goal to be achieved. And then we have the journey, which might include step 1, step 2, and so on. By the way, I'm going to show you different examples from using pictures in my own work, but the journey can be actually a very useful metaphor also for structuring content or for presenting daily activities, but the journey as a metaphor can be really implemented in lots and lots of different ways. Okay. This always meant not to be seen as a as a rigid rule or structure, but just to give you ideas how we can use various ways of really practical implementation of drawings in our work as teachers. And also when we use pictures, it's very important that we also include text. So pictures are meant actually to visualize content, and pictures are nothing without the words or without the explanation, either the written text or our explanation. So both should always go, like I always say, like two channels of communications: the words, the verbal, and the non-verbal, in this case, the hand-drawn images. Because our goal is not to show off that we can draw or to confuse our learners, but our goal is always to give an anchor, something to hold on to, so that both functions really good, an image and a word. Okay, so this is why when we create this type of illustrations, it's also very important that we include text, usually in the form of keywords. So in order to have really well structured, organized content, you need some containers or frames or something to put these words into, so that it all makes sense and it's readable in an easy way for the learners. So this type of, when we see some examples, you'll be able to see right away those containers and to recognize their function. But such containers can be, for instance, just writing something, let's say text. And such a container can be just a bubble. Okay, so it's not about letting it look fancy, but it's really about function as well. Or we can have text, and this can be just a sign hanging. Or we can have text, and it can be something like this. But really, it's not about what is important to be understood. It's not about aesthetics. It's really about function. It's about organizing content in keywords so that it's really easy to grasp. And once it's put in a container, it's much easier to be structured and understood. So this is why we quite often use various text boxes like this, or speech bubbles, or different type of shapes. Okay, maybe just another one or two examples of people communicating in one-on-one or a group, and then we'll have a look at some examples, how we can just photos, some examples of personally my work. Okay, and then you have a chance to work on your own task assignment. Okay, so maybe just to, because people often ask me how we can illustrate two people sitting on a table having a conversation. And maybe the easiest way I know about the drawing this is if this is one person. Okay, then we draw here a line for the table, and here we have the other person. Okay, yeah, okay. And we can also have here something, I don't really have space, but we can have kind of a speech bubble here. Okay, but you see, if you extract this out of the context and you would show this someone and say to someone and say, what do you guess, what is it? He might not be able to recognize, but it's about explaining and having the image to anchor the understanding. Okay, so maybe another situation of group conversation. Okay, maybe here, if this is a table, here we could have 1, 2, 3 persons. maybe here another one, and here another one, and here 2 other people, and then here the table. Okay. Okay, so this was more or less more about drawing people and situations where people are involved, but we could draw actually anything using those really basic, simple shapes. And if we are able to write, then we'll be definitely be able to draw as well. Maybe, and just to give an example, I can never give up of drawing the light bulb because it's so simple and it's such a nice symbol, the idea. So you can try it, those of you who haven't. Draw a scribble, a T above it, and then an O. So it's really easy. Sometimes it takes less time to draw it than to write the word once we've practiced it. Okay? Or we can, for instance, for exploration, another thing we can use is this could be our magnifier. Okay, this could be a symbol for exploration, or a symbol for communication could be a rectangle, and here a letter, and here if it's an email. Just to give you an example that it's really a rich world, and there are lots and lots of resources we can use just to grasp ideas. Okay, and now what I would like to do you have any questions or something to comment or anything? Okay.
Very useful for us.
Yes.
Yes, teacher. Yes.
Okay. I can share lots of resources about, because you can imagine that most of the things I didn't invent myself, but there are so many useful resources, and also for teachers specifically, how to use it in the classroom. So you can really, it can be really useful. So I can now share a couple of ideas from my own experience, as I promised you, about here. What can we use? Examples for using drawings within a classroom. And these are just, as I told you, it's not meant to be a rule or just to give you ideas how I, in my experience, in my professional work, use drawings. So this is just an impulse. For instance, we can, I quite often use it just for setting the stage or for creating atmosphere with drawing like big posters and hanging them on the wall just for, and now when I do online workshops, I also do it like draw these posters and then put them somewhere behind sometimes I do it so just to create an atmosphere. This you see, some of them are in Bulgarian, but still this, you can imagine these are big posters drawn so that they create kind of an atmosphere here. And when you see, they're all very, very simple images to draw, actually. Here, I also use it when I illustrate concepts. For instance, this is a theory about levels of conflict, and just using a drawing and then adding some in keywords. Here you can see, for instance, this text box with the title of the poster. Here again, some illustration I did. You see again how simple it is. You see the text box, the bubble, and the person communicating. Here we can, an image and adding with post-it notes, some content. Here also I had to explain quite a complicated process, and then at some point I decided to use the example of baking a lava cake, the recipe. So adding the images of the steps of the recipe kind of help people understand the concept of this process. Here, for creating structure as I already mentioned. We can use drawings very easily for drawing the big picture or showing the journey ahead, and then create structures for the learners, for the time frame or for the frame of the topic. Here again, the learning setting or the rules of our work together, the classroom culture. Here again, the agenda. Here, this is just an example of visual note taking. Again, it's in Bulgarian, but I think images are quite easy to be understood. So visual note taking. These are a couple of examples of taking notes visually. And because when you take notes in this way, it's much, for lots of people, it's much easier to remember and to understand afterwards, because to draw it, and you actually need to kind of structure it and reframe it in your own way, instead of just writing and maybe don't understanding what it's about. Okay, let me just check something. Excuse me, what are the 5 C's for communication? Was it, this was something back on the flip chart, 5 C's? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're asking about. Can you?
Yeah, well, because I saw it written in the poster. It was on the poster, and I was curious because it might help us also to communicate in a better way.
Oh,
it's simple because it has to do with business, maybe. Not,
yeah. You know, this is. I must admit, I don't really remember now, because it was a couple of years ago. This one.
Okay,
and I'm not really sorry. I don't.
Well,
really
it's
remember.
a bit an awkward question.
Yes, but thank you. But I could find
okay,
out.
so the 5 C's are clear, cohesive, complete, concise, and concrete.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, now I remember. So just to give you, and then, okay, let me. Here again. This was by the way. Okay, just notes. Notes I took during Antonio's presentation a couple of meetings ago. So it was just on flipped classroom. Okay. So, and this is, for instance, we can also, of course, use drawings to let students learn by giving them opportunity to illustrate what they've learned. For instance, in this case, this is my son's work on history when he was in the 3rd grade. And also for drawing some important persons in history in this case, and then adding some light, some text bubbles with important information on it. And also drawing here different, here this specifically is about history and important facts in this timeline. Here, this is a drawing about energy, different type of energy. Again, I let my son do it. Okay. So another 1 or 2 examples for planning. You can use drawings as well. And also something I use really often is using mind maps for planning a learning session, an event, or whatever. This is also another great option for teachers to have the whole plan on one page using a mind map. Okay, so, and of course, just for fun, sometimes I do this just for wrapping paper. I use this drawing and it becomes really, really nice. Okay, so now my invitation for you. We'll start with one task, and if we have the time, we'll do a second one, but let's first start with one task. And my invitation for you is to think of a very small part of something you teach, or you will teach, or you have taught for years, and illustrate it. You can illustrate it using these really very basic shapes we used right now. And be bold. Don't try to make it perfect. It doesn't need to be some great idea. You can do 5, 6, 7 variations of this idea, but be bold. Try really to catch the first idea that comes into your mind, and just illustrate it, just draw. And we can also say, think with your pen. You don't need to wait for the drawing to become perfect. Just sketch, 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 and then see what happens. And you'll have 6 minutes for that. And it's not a lot of time, but this is exactly the idea, that you kind of use your intuition more and more boldness instead of trying to create something really perfect and finished. Okay? Are you ready?
Paper? In paper?
On paper, yes, paper, just paper. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just think of something. It can be a situation or a process or whatever. Okay. And you'll have 6 minutes for that. do you need more time? Because actually, I think they're less than 6 minutes. But okay, another minute left. And I suggest that now I transfer you again in groups of 5 to 6 people so that you can share your drawings within the group and explain, because from my experience, people tend to be shy to show their drawings within a bigger group. So this is why I give you the opportunity for having more extensive exchange in the smaller groups. If some of you, maybe I'll put also the experts in the group. So if you kind of didn't make one, you can just be there or come back in the bigger group. And if some of you, again, can be transferred into the smaller rooms, please, when you stay here, we'll also can have the exchange in the bigger group here. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going, as I told you, I'll put you in a smaller groups and you'll have 5 to 6 minutes to exchange your ideas. And then when we come back all together, we can also have a look at a couple of the drawings, okay? So that you can also share them to the bigger audience if you feel like it, okay? Do you have any questions? If not, I'm going to transfer you now for 5 minutes into the smaller groups. Let's see. Okay. Not joined. I'll try to, a couple of you couldn't move to the bigger room, to the smaller rooms. I'll try to assign you. Oh, okay.
I'm not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere. So I'm really sorry, but maybe we shouldn't lose more time.
No, it's no problem, as I'm an expert team, so it's no problem.
I'm really wondering, is it because of the connection or something with Zoom? But it's really strange that people do not move. I'm so now trying to move a couple of you manually to other groups. So let's see if it works. Those of you who cannot move. So maybe you arrive later, but still I'm trying. Okay. Okay. So anyway, all of you who are here, those of you who want to share, can you please your cameras on and just share here within this group your ideas? Yes. Can you give me a short yes in the chat if you are here and can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, you're here and you can hear me, but okay. Is there some of you who would like to share their drawings? Or still too shy to do it? Okay, anyway, the others are coming back soon, so hopefully they have had the chance to exchange with this crazy situation with the breakout rooms. Let me just check what's happening. I'm closing the breakout rooms now. Welcome back. Did you get the chance to communicate it, or something strange happened with the breakout rooms again? So I hope
we communicate.
Okay, great. Oops. Something
What
happened.
is that? Okay.
Someone tried to call me, and I
Okay. Answer.
it was an emergency call, kind of end call.
Okay, emergency must answer.
Okay, sorry. No, it was me who called for emergency. Anyway, so anyone willing to share their drawing here for the bigger group?
I think Vitor really wants to.
Okay.
No, I didn't. But
maybe we'll hear Vitor first, and then José.
No, I just wanted to show them, but I didn't have time. It's because I'm going to start a lesson about Portuguese language in 1 hour, and I just wrote, I don't know if you can see the paper. Very bad.
It's really nice.
Oh, it's really nice.
Oh, thank you.
Back, maybe, not the drawing.
Okay.
It's something like this.
Thank you. Because we always have this tendency, not to say it's to excuse ourselves or say, it's very bad, but it's really not about perfection. Yes, yeah. We want also to teach our kids that it's allowed to make mistakes, right? And if we leave it ourselves that we're not afraid of making mistakes, of doing imperfect things, I think this is a great example to be followed. That we can dare to experiment. Yes, so we should be more brave, I guess, including me. José, would you like to share?
I have one. I'm going to give in my class, and another that I'm giving logical thinking. This one.
Okay. A Mexican.
You know what it is?
A Mexican wearing a sombrero.
Yes, he's a Mexican riding a bike.
Wow. Riding a bike. Yeah.
A perfect example.
No hands.
Of minimalism. A great example. Patricia, I think you wanted to share.
Yes, I mean, can you see?
Maybe move a bit closer to the camera.
Yes. I'm in the classroom.
Yes, yes, I can see.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about students to search about middle age. And the second thought is to search about the first king of Portugal. And they must, let's work in 3 groups and investigate. I can,
yes, I can see it. Hope the others too. Yes, that's great example. Thank you.
You teach me how to do it. Wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else willing to share? Okay. If not, someone is showing. Yes. Oh, great. Spell. Can you tell us, Camelia, what it's about?
An activity I perform in the classroom. So the children and I ask them to spell some words, typically for the English class.
Great.
And you use glasses when you are teaching?
Yes, all the time. To see better.
And especially, I'm sure you can also think of such, or have thought of similar ideas. Once we own the tool, we can experiment a lot also with, especially if we work with younger kids, but not only, to develop our own icons for different type of activities. And once we show, for instance, this icon, kids know now it's about reading, now it's about exploring. Or just to give an example, this came into my mind once Camelia was sharing. Yes, because it's really, and we can be, if we own the tool, then we can improvise very easily. We don't need to search for images, and again, it doesn't need to be perfect, really. Yeah, students just need an anchor, something for the brain to light up. Yeah, and it's already a huge help in understanding, in memorizing. So I think we should kind of give up of our sense for perfection for the sake of supporting learners to learn. Yes, I think it's worth it. Give up this a bit ego-like, strive for perfection. And again, if we show kids it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to do things imperfect, then I think it's really a great example to be followed, also in encouraging them to experiment. Of course, if we have the courage to do it. And now I'm going to share with you the second activity, which we won't have time to do now, but as I'm going to send you the link for the presentation, those of you who want can do it by themselves. And I think it's also a nice one and a helpful one. Let me show you what it is about. So the second is to illustrate a very specific process using one of the frameworks. We did a similar task with some of you, but it's really about, one of the framework we can use, of course, is the mind map. It's quite a popular one. It's also really a visual tool. Another example for similar frameworks are, for instance, the empathy map. It's one I really like because it gives us the opportunity, actually, in any situation we need to teach something, we can have a look at this situation, at this subject, through the eyes of a very specific person. For instance, if we're talking about mathematics, we can use the empathy map for some mathematician and slip into the role. So how it works is empathy map helps us to see the world through the eyes of a very specific person. And it looks like this, very simple. We just take a sheet of paper, put the person or the symbol for the person in the middle of the sheet, and then we divide the sheet in a couple of different areas. They can be more, they can be less, but here in this case is about, if we say this is Napoleon, we say we learn something about history, and then we let students slip into the role of Napoleon and just describe. It can be an individual work or group work, whatever, and let them write down what do they think Napoleon thinks or thought at the time. What did he see when he looked around him? How did the life look like at this point? And then the third area would be, what did Napoleon say? What words did he use? Or what quotes do we have that he said? Then how did he feel? And then write some ideas or suggestions how he felt. What did he do? And what did he hear from the others around him? So this is, for me, really a very nice one, a very nice tool, which can give us lots of ideas about looking at the situation or at the subject from a very personal point of view. Okay, and of course, students can write down, but they can also draw in these areas. They can add images, whatever they prefer. Okay. Another tool would be the balance diagram. It's very useful if we compare things. This could be, for instance, when we talk in, let's say, in history about some decision or politics or whatever. What if one decision would have bigger weight than the other? What could happen, and so on. Venn diagram, I think lots of us know it, especially mathematicians. Flow chart, it's a great way to illustrate different options for a process to flow. A timeline, we're all quite familiar with it. And yes, and of course you can use all other types of frameworks. This was just to give you an idea. So if you wish, you can also try to make this an exercise for yourself. Just think of a part of a process you need to explain in your teaching, in your classroom, and try to use one of the frameworks and to draw it with your hand, okay? And I've also included here a couple of resources. I can add more. Verbal to Visual is a great channel on YouTube, especially there is also lots of content about teachers, how to use drawings in their classroom. Dan Rom is another popular person in this field. He's more of a business consultant, but I think it's a great example to see how very simple images, hand-drawn images, an activity which might seem quite unserious, a lot of people, can be also used in really serious matters like deciding about huge amounts of money and creating strategies for companies and so on. I will include a couple of more resources as I'm going to share with you the presentation so that you can follow these links. And something I wanted to add, something I'm working on really for the last couple of months. As Zori and a couple of the other colleagues know, I'm preparing a video course on drawing for teachers within the GRT project. And I hope it will be a very useful tool. They're going to be 14 lessons, but as everything is already filmed, but I'm now working on the editing, which is quite difficult for me, I must admit, because I'm learning how to do it, but still nine out of the 14 lessons are already ready. So I hope soon you'll have access to this video course so you can use it for your lessons. Okay, so thank you. I'm going to stop with this. And if we have some 5 minutes left by the end of this session, we can draw 1 or 2 winter images if we still have time and energy so that we kind of prepare ourselves for the upcoming holidays. Okay, so thank you. I'm giving the word now to Elsa and Talina, who I'm sure have prepared very interesting presentation on visual tools as well.
Thank you, Svetlana, so much. And yeah, now we shift our attention to Elsa and Talina.
So I'm waiting for Miss Elsa to take the decision.
Okay. Elsa, you are muted. No, I'm sorry.
Unmute myself. Okay, right from the very beginning. Right, yeah, so it's quite late for me, but I'll try to do my best. I'm not so good at this time of, okay. So speaking of general information, what do you think we'll have in mind? Mind mapping. So I need your contribution, otherwise I won't say a word. General information about mind mapping. What do you think we need? Okay. Definition. And what makes a mind mapping a mind mapping? A mind map, right? So the definition. Okay, very quickly. The definition is here. Okay, and the keyword is a graphical organizer. And then what makes a mind map? The central idea, which is in the middle, and the related ideas which are displayed around the main idea. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. That's a question. It's not so important, but in terms of the content, but it's important to create atmosphere, because it brings to our world, it brings the person who introduced this concept to our world. So who introduced and popularized the term mind mapping? Do you know? Do you know the name? Okay, is this guide? So that's a person wearing lots of hats. He died 2 years ago or so. And his name is, you still don't know, it's okay. So it's Tony Buzan. Tony Buzan. Okay, so it's a paradox. People know a lot of things about very important person, singers, and so on, and they forget some important people who really made a difference into our world. And I'm thinking now of of the inventor of the World Wide Web. You still don't know who it is, but he did what's important about him. Why I appreciate him so much is that he didn't ask for any money for his contribution, because he wanted it to be free for everybody. Okay, so why do we use mind mapping in our classes? So I start from the idea that you have already used it.
Yes.
And, from the last presentation, we have improved it thanks to your contribution, what you have done with mind mapping in your classes. So why is it useful?
Essential information.
Okay, yes. Gives an overview of the main information in a very visible way. And we know that, what do we know? That a picture is worth 1,000 words. So in a very clear, condensed, concise, and complete way, a picture. And it helps, order students to order and relate information and knowledge, and it's personal, it's memorable. And you know what our students told us about using mind mapping? That it helps them learn to learn. which is fascinating because this is one of the first of
Yeah.
the 21st century skills. So it helps them to learn. Okay, so let's see what's next. I'll go quickly. How to create a mind map. I think that you all already know the steps. You are already familiar with the steps. Get the main topic, then put it in the middle, find the subtopics, branch them with the main topic, use one word, the keyword for each subtopic, make connections between subtopics, and so on. Okay, I won't be very long. Now my question is, because we, when we applied this method, we had this problem, because people are usually familiar with using this method with history or geography. I mean, with subjects that deal with texts that tell a story, a kind of story. So which subjects, where can you use mind mapping? What subjects? Okay, so the answer is this. So we can use mind mapping in all subjects, doesn't matter. Okay, so this is even mathematics. Okay, right. And this method can be used at a word level and a text level. At a word level, some people might say that, okay, it's very good for foreign languages because you learn a lot of words. You put the topic in the middle and then you ask students to write down any words they associate with the topic. Yeah, but you can do the same thing when it comes to math, physics, chemistry, and so on. Because students need to use a specific vocabulary, a vocabulary specific to any science. And mind mapping, so this method can help them master the vocabulary. And this is very important. Okay, and what do we have here? We have different, mediums, so this is a board for word associations. This is a notebook for word associations. This is this is a whiteboard, a digital one. And this is Mentimeter. You can use Mentimeter, or you can use Padlet, the digital, the digital tool, Padlet, which is a fantastic tool. Okay, and both of them are free. Mentimeter and Padlet are free. Okay.
Padlet is not free. The first one are.
Okay, only the first 3 Padlets are free.
Yes.
Okay, but they have noticed that I have been using it for a very long time. And now can you guess how many Padlets I have? 6.
Yes, but we lose the work.
No, that is, I mean, they have improved, they have worked on it, and you can, save the work.
Okay.
Yeah, you can save the work.
Okay.
You can save the work of the students and use it. Yes, yeah. Yeah, but you are right. It's free only for the first 3, but I have 6. I don't know how, but I have 6 Padlets. Okay, so this is mind mapping at the text level. And this is mathematics. This is mathematics. They are physical and digital, using digital tools. And this is mathematics on, what are they called? The rectangles. And this is biology on nutrition. And this is psychology. Okay. All right, so let me see what else I've got here. Types of mind maps: physical or digital, notes and posters. Okay, so physical on the board, physical in the notebooks, physical as a poster, and this is digital. And when it comes to posters, I mean, I have noticed that our teachers kind of complain, and tell me if they you face the same situation in your country. Our teachers complain that when students have to do PowerPoint presentations as homework, there is a lot of copy paste. That's why they resort to posters. Posters is more personal. In posters, they have to negotiate about what words to use the keywords, to combine pictures and drawings, and this way there is not so much copy paste. So it seems that posters, which can be also digital, posters are a better idea than PowerPoint presentations. And so this is a PowerPoint presentation, a physical one, presented by students in front of the class. And because some teachers simply wonder what the rest of the class is doing while the other ones are working hard, they resorted to pair work. See, at the what is this, right bottom side, corner of the slide, you see two little girls presenting each other, presenting their, presentation, making a presentation like this, which is a very interesting idea. Okay, so what about you?
I made in a other way.
Yeah.
Because he made copy paste. So yeah. I write title, subtitle, and they must select the ideas and words where they can put in the area. Can you understand me?
Yes, yeah. So you can give the the main structure of the lesson. Just at the beginning of the lesson, you present the objectives, and with them also comes this outline, which is focused on the main idea and subtopics. And while you are progressing with the lesson, they have to complete this outline with keywords and main ideas.
That's impossible to make copy paste.
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah, it's impossible, right? And I have also noticed that while they are doing this, they no longer use your words because they concentrate on the meaning to see where they put that idea. And by concentrating on the meaning, they use their own words. I have noticed that. Yeah, so it's interesting, very interesting. Thank you very much. Other ideas related to this? Okay, if not, we move on to the next slide. Yes, when to use mind mapping? What stages of the lesson? When do we use mind mapping? What stages of the lesson? You have said that at the beginning. Yes, okay, where else?
I used it in the beginning or when at the end. At the
end of the lesson. Okay, at the end of the lesson. Okay, any other ideas?
No, mainly is like that, is brainstorming at the beginning, or
okay, yes,
as a conclusion at the end, or even sometimes on the middle to make such like a reflection about how the work is going to be done, is being done.
Okay.
To check the development of the work.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's see what the PowerPoint, the slide says. See, brainstorming, warm-up activities, excellent. During, in the middle, to reflect. I put note-taking, but I would also include reflection. Introducing new knowledge. Yeah, end of the class, revision, and homework. One of our teachers used this as homework. So after finishing a chapter on parallelograms, it was a lesson of math. After finishing this unit, she asked her students to create a mind map on the geometrical figures studied, shapes studied. Okay, so let's see. Benefits. There are lots of benefits. Lots of benefits. Okay, so can you tell me just 1, 2, and we'll see. So you have already mentioned organizer, a good organizer, organizing ideas, teaching students how to learn. What else?
Most of the moments, I think that it is important for reflection, because the students, we can put them thinking, for using it for critical thinking, for example. So I think it's a good tool for exploring and putting them thinking, not learning by themselves.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, and this, you know, reflection time is often neglected, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay,
visualizing connections between concepts, new terms, and knowledge that we've had before.
Wow, thank you, Ivana. You know, connections. This is one of the, I don't know, flaws of education. Students find it hard to make connections, right? Yeah. Okay, anything else? No? Okay, so let's see.
I would like to explain mine. With this, with the mind map in the como é que se diz, no início da aula, in the beginning of the lesson,
yeah,
I made a mind map.
Yeah.
And this involves my students to make a text investigating the themes.
Yeah.
And at the end of the other class, they made the opposite. I give them a text, and they select the principal ideas and words about the theme, and they must do a mind map about that theme.
Okay. Okay.
May I say something?
Yes,
about
please.
my previous experience, sorry. But my previous experience working and teaching history and geography in the 4th and 5th class, I remember that the map, it was very encouraging for children who thought that the amount of knowledge that to learn was too much and they got confused. And in this way, they seem to be really in power of what they were. As you say, you know, it helps them to get, it helps to get method of study. And this is encouraging for the amount of information and things they have to remember. So it helps them to get really in a good mood. And I think that emotionally, if you basically have a good approach to studying, you feel that you can succeed. And that is something that after all, also the important thing is to get connection about also different subjects. You can do, well, there are many things at the moment. I'm sorry, bit confusing.
Yeah, there are lots of things,
Lots of things.
Yeah,
it was very helpful to really focus on that, because I think is the basic tool to use for a lesson in presence, you know, not maybe online lesson or even online, but especially to get them involved.
It engages them. And this brainstorming activity is fantastic because it creates, as you said, it creates that emotional atmosphere. And helps them, you know, everything is, because it's not judgmental. Nobody is supposed to criticize anyone. It creates an atmosphere of trust.
The trust and the importance of what they're saying. So if they put, you know, if they are enough involved, it feels like they can do more and more. So they are not stopping themselves from, you know, feeling unsure of talking and intervene. I think it's good. There is a good push.
And they feel, you know, safe and encouraged. And by you know, and it also adds a lot of things to the relationships among them, among students, and also between teacher and students.
Yes, so, I saw that because it was a good direct experience of that. Thank you.
Thank you. And you see, these are only 5, but I have more. You know. And you know, this, as Vitor said, thinking through complex problems and allowing them to have a moment of reflection and making, you know, Ivana, making meaningful connection between ideas. So these are among my favorites. Okay, right. Okay, I hope that you have gone through them. And the last, but not the least, of course, collaboration. Everybody contributes, focusing on the visual way of learning, and less space, less time, and stimulates both the creative and the logical way of thinking. Okay, so you have mentioned them. So there are lots of benefits. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Okay, the next is a little bit, you know, far-fetched, using complicated words, but to cut a long story short, it's about how to help students identify the main ideas and the ideas and the ideas or words that support the main ideas, and how to get over difficulties. And then, you know, the moment of reviewing, which is very, very important. Okay, and there are lots of activities which can, because, you know, students nowadays have difficulties in finding the main ideas in text sometimes, but sometimes they are helped because most texts have subheadings, and then it's easy. Okay, not much time left, so I'll move on to digital maps. So they are quite in fashion, but they are here to stay, I think. And why do we use them? Also,
you muted. Sorry, Elsa, you muted yourself again.
I have a problem with my connection. This is the problem. Sorry, I don't know why, but I'm coming back and share the presentation. Okay, see, digital maps. Why do we use them? Because they are flexible. Students simply click and drag ideas. They allow us a unlimited space We don't depend on the size of our paper. And because they help students to co-create. And we all know that co-creation is a buzzword nowadays. You know, students have to co-create knowledge. And this can help them with this process and visualization. And the main digital tools that our teachers use, the online whiteboard, MindMeister, Miro, and Canva. Okay, do you use other digital tools to create mind maps?
Active Inspire.
Sorry?
I use Active Inspire.
Okay. Active Inspire.
It's from Canada.
Yeah. Okay, so it's from Canada. Yeah. Okay. Next. Doesn't want to. Okay, and the last part of our presentation focuses on collage making and posters. I mean, we know what collage making is. So our teacher, and because it's so frequently used, our teachers use posters. Speaking of collage making, do you know who gave collage a status? And made it, you know, popularized it, promoted it a lot. Do you know? Do you happen to know? Picasso.
Picasso.
Yes, great. Yes. Okay. All right.
In the second, in the first is painting. In the second part,
of his yeah, I know that he went through several stages of painting.
Yes,
the first one was
yes.
blue and pink because he didn't have enough money to buy colorful paint.
Yes, and
then
the African masks too.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So posters, they are eye-catching and informative, and right, so I told you that I have a problem with some good practice. So taken from classes. So that's a history class. And Emil, are you here? Emil, can't hear me. Okay, so, you know, instead of making a poster, like, you know, a physical one, which is quite usual, the class made a digital poster on Venetian, Florentine, Roman, and what's the next? Sorry. Okay, schools. And he distributed this work among 4 groups of students. They work together, you know, using the computers. They co-create, you know, the content of the poster, and you know, they will create a poster on these schools of painting, which will be displayed in their school. So they are quite proud of it. So it will be their, I don't know, present, their gift to the school.
A little Bauhaus.
Yeah. Okay, and the last one, also posters, but this time is the traditional ones, made during a math class, you know, geometrical figures, shapes. But I'd like to draw your attention to the students. Everybody is working, you know, nobody is left behind. Everybody contributes to the group task. And, you know, and this is, you know, the final product. The final product. So it's a poster with collage elements. So yeah. Okay, so this is, I think this is This is
work with interactive groups.
Yeah. So a lot of work. Okay. So any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to you. I hope that the others will agree that this was a great session. We are not as many as we started. Some people had to leave a bit earlier, but we are the heroes. So thank you to the facilitators of today's session. I would like to remind everyone that we will continue in the same fashion as after the first online session. So we will send you again the India lesson blank. Please try to consider the information that you heard today, and please try to provide back a modification to the lesson plan using the Draw Your Mind instruments. Thank you. You will be receiving the email because some of the participants who are not online with us, they also need this reminder. So I will be sending it, and all the other coordinators will be sending the emails to everyone. All the files used today and the recording from today will be uploaded in another folder in the same Google Drive that you have been given access to. Please let me know if someone is left behind without an access to the Google Drive so that I add your email. Okay.
And the
Thank
question
you.
is to whom we should send some tool that somebody sends me.
The India lesson should be sent
for drawing.
For drawing, no, to all the teachers. To all the teachers that are a part of Golden Ratio in Portugal.
Yeah, but for drawing, we should send it
this time they will have to test the new information from today. Yeah, the drawing skills. And the mind mapping skills or timeline. Okay,
but
whatever they prefer.
We don't need to send a class plan to anybody.
The India lesson, which we have,
it's right. It's right because it's based on mine. Yeah, it's right. So if you go for the mind mapping, is a simple drawing.
Yes.
Okay.
It depends on the preferences of the teachers. If you prefer, you don't need to send the lesson, but just send an email reminding people that now they need to take the India lesson plan and modify it using the Draw Your Mind tools. And please give back your ideas by tomorrow so that again we can prepare the summary, the information, and provide it to Svetla and to Elsa and Talina.
And you don't need to have a Word software, whatever. You can do it. You can go for the physical way.
Yes.
Yeah, but it would be interesting to add in the lesson plan where you would integrate it and how you would introduce it to your students.
I did that. I sent just an idea to my coordinator in Italy, but it was just an email writing an idea without making a plan and to really modify every part.
And probably because mind mapping is also about relevant and irrelevant, what you find, worth memorizing, worth retaining, you can, select the main information and, some hints as to how you help students make the difference distinguish between relevant and irrelevant. Some ideas.
Making it on a map, on a mind map.
Adding, putting it in the plan.
But it doesn't copy. how to say, I
So,
cannot
I mean-
transfer the information because I have this software that doesn't work. I'm sorry, the Word
So,
software. The
I'm-
Word you can do paste, you know, copy and paste. I can't use that unless I
Well,
go to school and they're not really.
You know, on second thoughts, because
Yeah.
Ivana is looking at me in a way that, you know, I haven't been clear enough. Thank you. You know, this is the problem with online teaching. You don't see the reactions. And the reactions are very important to you as a teacher because you adjust your teaching according to the reaction you have in front of you. So maybe concentrate on the lesson plan and put their ideas as to how you use mind mapping or drawing with having in mind India. So simply ideas.
Okay.
So
Okay,
not
I
the
will
lesson
try
plan.
to,
Okay,
to make
ideas.
something written anyway, or copy or
Okay,
doing
simply
anything and
ideas.
send it again. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Antonio just wrote that he's a bit lost. So maybe we need to clarify again. So we will ask our teachers to provide modifications to the lesson plan for India using the Draw Your Mind tool. I hope that
and put down some ideas as to how to teach, you know, India using the method, putting down some ideas.
Absolutely.
Like,
okay.
I give them the outline of the lesson and ask them to complete while we are progressing with the lesson, we are going through the lesson. I would also introduce some moments of reflection. So some ideas, because yeah, it's quite...
Exactly. When you use a software that obviously doesn't collaborate properly with you and you can't download an image, you can make a screenshot of what you see. So again, you can demonstrate your work. But any format will be fine for us. It will be our task to manage that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Also, if you want to, for instance, draw it on a paper and take a picture of that, that would also be okay. So if you have a problem with using the digital tools, this is one of the good things about this set, that you can just do it on a piece of paper, for example, take a picture and send that.
Okay, fine.
Fantastic. Thank you all. See you on Friday.
Friday? Friday, not Thursday?
Isn't it Friday, the 10th?
Friday. Ah, the 10th. I don't know.
It's Friday.
Friday. Okay, Friday. Okay, Friday. That's great. One more day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Stay
See you
safe.
Friday.
Bye. Take care.
See you Friday.
Friday.
Bye-bye.
Yes, sorry, it's been a very hard week. And the last week was also very hard. So if you ask me what my name is, I can't remember.
You did just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I know my name, by the way. I know what my name is.
I learned a lot with you.
Okay. I love you. I like your ideas. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Have a nice evening. Bye.
Чудесно беше.